Hello and welcome back to the Sky Spirit channel. I'm Naomi and I'm a tarot reader. If you caught my last episode of Tarot Tells, oh no it wasn't, it was the one before that, I was looking into the asteroid that NASA is talking about as a potential threat to the Earth. It's YR4, no, 2024 YR4. That's its full name. Goodness knows why they name these things like that. I'm sure they could have thought of better names, like something the Destroyer, something like that. But no, we have 2024 YR4. So when I did the reading last week or the week before to have a look at this, it was a really interesting reading, and what really stood out for me was that all four knights came out of the tarot deck, and in a 10 card reading for 4 knights to come out, that's like, it's it clearly shows something very important. At the time I said I want to delve more into that and perhaps sort of drill down into each one and see if I could get any more information about the role of those 4 knights. Now, we're probably not talking figuratively, literally, that there's 4 knights, but I sense that it could be sort of 4 powers, 4 different individuals, perhaps even 4 countries, something like that. But chillingly, after the first reading, I realised the significance when you think about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and what their association could be with the giant asteroid heading towards Earth. So yeah, that's a bit scary. Okay, so what I decided to do was still have a drill down and see if the tarot has got anything to say about what's going on. Now, unusually, I've decided to use significators. I always get that word wrong. Significators, yeah, in this reading. Because the 4 knights came out and I want to know more about them, I'm going to ask directly about the 4 cards. So we'll put those down as the significators. So I'm looking at either 4 individuals, 4 powers as such. And I'm going to do a reading really intuitively. The spread you probably won't recognize. We're just sort of going with the flow here because it's a really unusual thing. It's a really unusual circumstance for those 4 knights to come out together. And now, like, I really want to know a bit more about it. So let's shuffle the cards well here. Okay, let's see what we have. I'm going to lay the cards out and then I'm going to then go through the interpretation. Sorry, I'm just moving them so you can, so they've got a bit more space, you can see them better. Okay. Just move those up. I seem to be running out of table, but I think I'll get them all in. Okay. Wow, that's an interesting spread to say the least. Okay, so overall, what I'm seeing here is, yes, it's echoing what we saw in the first reading, that there is a lot going on behind the scenes, a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of deceit, a lot is being kept from us, but that's not very helpful unless I can like get deeper into it. So I'm really asking the cards more about the 4 knights that came out. The 4, I'm relating them now to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Let's hope that that's a bit of an exaggeration on my case, but the coincidence did strike me. This actually first occurred to me, this 4 horsemen of the apocalypse thing, when, I don't know if you remember, there was 4 horses escaped in London. It was like the King's Guards or something who ride the horses around the palace. There was 4 horses escaped, and there was like scenes on the TV of them galloping up and down the streets. One was covered with blood, a white one. It looked so much like um, one, the death horse from the Four Horsemen. I thought that was quite an omen. And if you tie that in with some of Nostradamus's predictions for this period of time, it's getting a wee bit spooky. So let's have a look at more about what we can see with these 4 nights. Now, these are coming out as 4 distinct energy patterns, and it almost feels like we have 4 choices in front of us. Now, the overall feeling with regards to the asteroid 2024 YR4, I think I was saying Y2, YT4 in the last video, it's YR4, but I also managed to call the asteroid a meteor all the way through, and at one point a comet, so I do apologize. At least today I will call it an asteroid. Okay. Right, so I'm looking at 4 distinct pathways for how we deal with what's coming. Now, I think I got sidetracked there. I am seeing that what's being kept from us is that an impact is more than likely expected, and the flurry of activity behind the scenes is the shit hitting the fan, basically, and people trying to work out what the best thing is to do, what the best information is to release, any steps that can be taken to divert perhaps the asteroid's path. I'm seeing perhaps conversations about the size of it not being what was expected at first, what was decided at first, or what's being told to us. And I'm also feeling that they really are in a position where if they wait and see, it could be that it's going to be too late at some point. So it's almost like they've been thrust into this having to talk to each other, these different bodies of power to try to come together to avert a pretty major disaster. So looking at those 4 separate paths. So my first path here is what I'm looking at here is a sense of world government. Now, when I say world government, I'm not even really thinking about, the UK government, the US government, the Australian government. I'm looking at something higher up than that, where they're joining together. So I'm seeing like a union which has come about because in the lead up to this potential catastrophe. I keep wanting to call it an extinction event, but I'm not getting the feeling that we're on that level yet. But I'm going to call it a catastrophic event. So in the lead up to the catastrophic event, I see that there will be a lot of financial instability for the world. Now, this is also the fires and sort of climate events are increasing. I know that's not much of a prediction, seeing as that seems to be happening anyway, but I really see it ramping up to the point where it's affecting the world economy like in a big way. Okay, so this column of power here is very much to do with a world government. Now, I'm trying my hardest not to say New World Order and things like this, but I am seeing that sort of a government that encompasses all governments. And it's like they've had to come into play because the threat is global, and it's from the outside. And I'm almost thinking that there is the asteroid, there's an intelligence behind it. It's not just a hurtling piece of rock in space. It almost seems like it's directed, and I'm feeling that it's there is some force behind it with sort of it has malice in mind for Earth. Let me put it like that. Now, I'm not sure whether that's like another world intelligence or our own sort of future intelligence, and something's happened. But it seems to be that it's not just a random piece of rock that suddenly appeared and bang, it's going to hit the earth. It's like it's been directed here. Something has made it come here to cause harm. Okay, so leading up to the event, we have economic problems en masse for the entire world, and also that will manifest in things like famine and a lot of people being displaced from their homes, from their homeland, a lot of traveling away from homeland, so people being moved from areas where they live now. And I see this happening. It's almost like it's organized, and it's organized well in advance of the events that are going to occur in 2032 when the asteroid, I'm not going to say hits, I'm going to say potentially hits. Okay, so I do think that even if there's not a big impact, there will be an impact on the world as it comes with culture, beliefs. It's a new paradigm. So the impact, even if it's not literal, the impact is going to be considerable. Now, what I see here is the Two of Wands. It's very much giving me the idea of planning for the future. So this world government is almost putting together plans that move us past the asteroid, but it's almost like they can't stop the infighting, even at to the point where we're talking about a global catastrophe, okay, something that's going to affect millions of people. Still, the fighting continues, and still they're sort of struggling for power and the balance of power, minerals. There's almost, I'm saying there's almost that I hear an argument about resources, about minerals, about what the distribution is, what the balance is. This card's very much about this balance. So arguments about not just how humanity will continue after this event, but who will own parts of the world that could be affected, which is quite sad, but it's not surprising, is it? So this is where this power column, I'm going to call it, this is bringing me to world government. Now, what the Hanged Man says to me here is there's very much a feeling here of suspended action. So there will be a flurry of activity in the next year or two, and then definitely the next year or two. But then I see that will be a drawing back. So I feel that they will believe that they have a solution mapped out that's going to work. Now, as I'm sensing like Exodus's mass migration, is exodus is a word? Mass migrations of people here. I think they might instigate some of that pretty quickly, or put plans in place where it will specify how and when that's going to occur. But once that's all done, it seems like there's a flurry of activity, and then there's a drawback, and they're looking at what they've done and deciding whether or not it's going to do the job. However, I think here that there's something uncovered, and the thing that becomes apparent to this world government, if you like, is that there's something different about the asteroid that they haven't anticipated. Now, I'm feeling very much that's to do with the size and the composition of the asteroid. So it's about the balance of the I want to say minerals in the asteroid, but like metals, minerals, elements, what it's made of, which of course I suppose will affect how heavy it is. And I'm not a physicist, but I'm guessing if it's heavier and bigger, it's going to cause more problems. So that's what I'm seeing from this column of cards here. Okay, I'm going to move us on to the next column here. So my next horseman of the apocalypse, my next knight. So what I'm seeing here is I feel this is the people. Okay. Now I'm saying this because I sense here this is very much a card which is going to talk about movement of people, potentially over water, and it's fast. Okay. So people are moving around the planet because as the time creeps nearer to the potential impact of this asteroid, people are going to start really losing their shit about it. Because, I mean, yeah, it is pretty scary when you think about it. And also, people like to be prepared these days, and there is so much information shared on the internet, and we're so much more aware of the fact that things are kept from us, that we're kept in the dark, um, that we tend to mine out information, and we're all basically going to turn into, survivalists, people that are prepared for this. So there's going to be a massive movement into off-grid living, how to live without electricity, how to grow your own food, how to survive in the cold, outside, how to survive the elements, um, that sort of thing. So I do sense that I'm going to call this column is the people column. So this is where we are. Now, one thing that I'm seeing with this column is that there's a huge potential. This Ace of Pentacles here is a card which talks about the manifestation of a true potential for material things. So I think what we're being shown here is like it's going to be a very, very turbulent time. And there's a lot of endings of things here. And it's an ending of one way of living and the beginning of another. And let's be honest, I know that sounds pretty dramatic. It's actually probably well needed because the world's a bit of a mess, and a lot of it has to do with material possessions and how we as a species act about material possessions, and having to have the best, the better, the biggest, the only. So I think this is like a paradigm upside down. It's a paradigm shift into the fact that we have a realization that these material things mean nothing when it comes to it, because at the end of the day, our lives, the people that we love, our very existence is way, way more important than the car we have parked on our drive. And this is showing an awakening of the people. So this is really a card it's such a positive card, and it's telling us that after the nightmare, which is indicated at the top here, which is a position which is an eminent position of emotions. Okay, so it's really coming out as people's worst nightmare. So there's going to be a lot of panic leading up to the situation, and people have to, or it would be nice if people could stay calm. I know that's such an easy thing to say, isn't it? And we'll all be like really, really panicking and running around like headless chickens. But it's almost saying like, do things right, be that prepared person, know what's going to happen, know where it's going to happen, have a plan on how you're going to live while, I want to say things are cleaned up, but that's a little bit smaller scale. I think there's going to be a period of some time when everything will be very chaotic, very dark. We might not have power. There might not be enough food. We might be in a different sort of temporary climate because of dust in the atmosphere and things like that. But we have to remember that if we're prepared, if we follow the plan, we will come out of the nightmare to the other side. But the nightmare is really strong here, and it's really suggesting there's so many people going to be so scared. But we must focus on the Ace of Pentacles here, which is a new way of living, and it's turning those material possessions on their heads. So we emerge from the nightmare as a society with different values. Okay, so that's my second knight. It's interesting because I thought they might come out as specific people, but it's almost like they're coming out as specific energies which are associated with this world event. which is quite interesting. But I guess, I mean, you're looking at people as well, because that first column of cards there is to do with government and government figures. So we could look to our politicians there. The second column of cards here is coming out as the people who are stuck in the nightmare, having to migrate, having to cross seas, having to run to safety, and that new way of living that's going to emerge from that. Interesting. So moving on to the third column. This is an interesting one because this is the Knight of Cups. Now, cups are very much to do with the emotions, and I'm sensing that this column again is to do with the people, but it's more to do with not their way of living materially. It's to do with where their emotions are focused. It feels like our focus emotionally has been too external. It's almost like we're looking to, I want to say, celebrities to be sort of thought leaders and inspiration for young people. You see, we have the Queen of Wands here, and I'm reading her in a reversed position as well, which is indicative of a lot of deceit, self-deception, not being in touch with ourselves, but looking to something else. So this card at the bottom here is the Seven of Wands, and it's very much about it can be competition, standing your ground, being defeated as well. And it's like our love of celebrity and love of being the richest, the prettiest, the most adored, the loved, the ones with the most friends, sort of has become our sense of ourselves and our place within our own emotions and what we think about other people has become so distorted that the only choice that we have is the defeat of it. We have to leave it behind to move forward because we've been in a place of deceit for a long time. And it's like we can't move forward until we come out of that place. Now, the the silver lining of the asteroid event, of the catastrophic event, is that things are going to change for everybody. And that is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be more world famines, climate events, more struggle for people. But it's also signaling a new world that's going to emerge from the ashes like the phoenix. So when we're looking at the emotions here, I'm very much seeing that we're losing that part of us. So the part of us, our emotional part, that's become quite warped over the last few decades, where we sort of live our life through a lens or on a screen, and Insta culture and all that, and that is really, again, it's been blown out the water. Um, Excuse the pun, but it's really being turned on its head. But we're losing what we have there, and I guess it's going to feel really quite devastating at the time because it's something that we're very familiar with. And when your mind is familiar with going to a certain place for comfort, perhaps that's watching particular TV shows or going on social media or connecting with people who we're not necessarily personally bonded with, but that we can relate to without that emotional need to, you know, be involved with them. So we're like looking at them through a nice safe piece of glass or a screen. So that's going to be removed, and it's almost like a rude awakening emotionally when we're all going to have to get really, really close again. And we're going to be fighting together to live. So communities will come together, friends will come together, new groups will be forged which will work together in order to ensure the survival of societies. So this is taking our focus away from being inner and very, very close to us, but not very emotionally bonded, to being much, much further out and almost like that true humanitarian, is that the word? Philanthropy, something like that. Philanthrop, I can't say it. That true experience where you sort of you're living the dream of humanity, but through the masses, not with just the people close to you. But to do that, I didn't explain that very well, did I? But do you understand what I mean? Please tell me in the comments below that you do, because I'm really getting tongue-tied here. We're giving away what we have close to us, but we're getting a lot more, but it's not going to feel like that on an emotional level at first. Okay. Moving on to the final column of cards here. Now, this is a really interesting column here, because we start off with the Knight of Swords. Now, the Knight of Swords is really about speed. It's a very, very quick card. So this is coming in really, really, really quickly, okay? And it's like this is upon us now. To do with that knight here, we have the High Priestess. The High Priestess is very much about intuition and being spiritual and being in touch with your inner self and turning to those skills rather than skills in logic to actually work out a way to move forward. So what I'm seeing here is that immediately people are starting to look at this event as a spiritual event. Not necessarily, I don't mean like it's it's sent by God or something, but I think it's going to be, people are going to be waking up to how they live and why they live like they do. And I think when you're told that your days could be numbered, you become that sort of judgmental person of yourself, of how you've lived. Have you lived well? Has your soul learnt lessons on this earth? Will you leave this earth a better person than when you came into it? Does that make sense? If you're reincarnated, yeah. So it's almost like we're being shown that this will start to happen really quickly. And that's a good thing, because it means that people are going to be making improvements to their lives on a spiritual basis, taking the time to help others, to look at ways that manifestation can work. And I'll tell you why that is. What's coming out from here is really, really strong. And it's to do with when we do negative things and have negative thoughts and are involved in negative activities and negative aims and negative dreams and nightmares and things like that, we're almost like a ship magnet pulling all these negative things towards us. It's like manifesting in reverse. So you're manifesting the negative things. So I'm getting the impression here that we have manifested this predicament that we're in because of the negativity on this planet, because of the way that we've basically treated the planet. We've neglected our own intuitive self. We've rushed in. We've taken what we needed from the planet. We've taken minerals. We've taken, plants. We've exploited everything that we could find here. And we've really turned the planet into our own sort of factory. And now it's running out of resources and we're struggling. But our own greed and negativity has really attracted a lot of negativity to us. So I'm almost sensing that this asteroid's of our own doing. This is what this column in particular is telling me, really, with this High Priestess here. But what we're seeing, you see this, the combination of the High Priestess with the Queen of Pentacles reversed. I'm seeing that again, our way of living, our paradigm of material living has caused a lot of problems. It's the greed that causes these problems. We've neglected our duties to the planet that we live on, the planet that's given us life and home. We've really neglected looking after the planet. In fact, we haven't just done that, we've ruined the planet. So basically, we've brought this upon ourselves. But what we have coming out of this, now this is actually probably one of the most positive cards here. This is a new opportunity. This is being handed a new paradigm. This is us actually moving past the point where the asteroid nearly started again, where the asteroid impact. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I do expect an impact from this asteroid, looking at the cards, both from the reading in part one. If you haven't seen part one, I'll put a link in the description. So both from the reading in part one and this reading today, and it is really, really interesting that the four knights came out last time, and it's so associated with four powers, or the four horsemen of the apocalypse. But this card, sorry to ramble on, I get sidetracked so easily here. So this card is really showing us that we can be handed almost like a new opportunity. We're getting given a second chance here, guys. And I think basically the message of these cards is that when we're given this new chance, and it might not even be, after the impact, but even leading up to it, there's a period of reflection. So it's like we're thinking, wow, we have really screwed up personally and as a whole planet. And we need to unite together and stop the wars and stop the, on a personal level, stop the greed and the envy, and then, realize that we are all one. We are all part of the same creation, and we're being handed an opportunity to move forward and live like that. So even before anything happens, we have that opportunity. And it's interesting to think, if we've manifested this asteroid by being negative, as would be shown in the cards here, can we divert this asteroid by changing ourselves to be positive on a planetary level? And is that even realistic? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed that reading. I'm sorry to be a little bit full of doom and gloom, but I say it like I see it. And I found that the cards are never wrong. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode, and stay weird.